Hi there, I'm Elise Dewsberry. I'm from New Musicals, Inc., and we are the producers of the web series So Proudly We Hailed. And I'm here today with Diarra McCormick, who is the subject of our episode entitled The Worst Job Ever. So Diarra, as I understand it, you joined the Air Force a week before your 28th birthday and served one full term at Columbus AFB MS, working as a financial management journeyman. And you have called that the worst job ever. Can you talk to us a little bit about why you feel that it was the worst?
It was the worst, first of all, because I joined the military to go into intel. I wanted to do like this special ops stuff, and they act like, oh, yeah, you'd be good for that, you know? And then when I look at my paper, it says I'm going into finance. I'm like, okay, I didn't join the military for this, but okay, I guess I have to go now. And when I get there, you know, we had to go to boot camp and we had to go to the technical school to learn it. And when I got to permanent party, my regular base at Columbus, everything was different. Like everything we learned is like, no, you got to start all over because we don't process stuff like that anymore. Everything's on a computer. You got to have everything is computerized now. So all that stuff you learned on paper. So I was like, yeah, I'm starting all over again. And people and their money, that is a bad job. And my job was taking people's money. So I just became a villain just because of my job. And it was so stressful because I don't know how to tell a grown person how to pay their debts because you know you aren't married anymore. So how is that my problem? You know you aren't married. You are getting entitlements that you are not entitled to anymore. Don't come to me blaming me for sending you a letter knowing you owe that money. The government is going to get their money back one way or another.
Yeah, sounds like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, I think something that's interesting, Diarra, is that many of the vets that we've worked with on this project, they come from a military background or someone else in their family who's been military. And I if I'm not mistaken, I think you had said that you do not come from a military background at all. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your family, the background you came from and what you were getting started in and what made you decide to enlist. And then how did your family react to that?
Okay, so all during school, I was a straight A student, and my family is full of artists, writers, poets. So we're very artistic. And the military was never an option for me because, you know, okay, you can go get scholarships. And even people and teachers in high school was like, people who go to the military, that's because they're headed in the wrong direction. It's to keep them out of jail and stuff like that. You don't need that. So I was curious because I didn't really know what they did in the military. I just, like everybody else who don't know anything about it, they think, oh, they're just going to go fight a war. But when there's no war, what are they doing? And I was curious about that because I didn't know what they were doing either. But what happened was after school, I went to undergrad school at Xavier University, and then I graduated, and then Katrina happened. So I wasn't working, and I needed some type of way. I already knew I was going to grad school, but I wasn't going to go right after Katrina. But after that happened, I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of Texas and put my frustration somewhere in the paper or in the story. So I went to grad school, and grad school was very fun at Loyola Marymount University. It really helped me get through. My teachers really wanted me to write about Katrina. I didn't want to at first, but then I was able to write about it and deal with that bad experience and turn it into something positive, and, you know, just stop feeling so beat down by what I went through. But I graduated into the recession, and I was very homesick, even though I really liked California. I was homesick when they came to my graduation. I was like, I want to go home. And, you know, I'm like, why am I going home? Because I had a job offer, but it was in financial aid. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But I came home, graduated into the recession, and New Orleans they were only hiring veterans. Like it was I was in survival mode. I'm always in survival mode when I go to New Orleans, when I come back home. While it's a good place to visit, it's really not a good place to live unless you somebody with some money, or a millionaire, one of these millionaires down here. And that's not my that's not my background. I don't have that income. So it was a number of reasons. I was kind of forced to go because I'm like, I can't sit here with all these degrees and not get a job and not do nothing. But also because I had a master's degree, they were saying I was overqualified, and I just couldn't sit in the house and just, I mean, I like helping my mama, but I didn't go to school to just come back home and live with my mama and help her out. She raised both of her eyebrows at me like, you want to go to the military? No, everybody tried to stop me from going, but I was just like, it's either, I just didn't have any growth. I don't have a problem living with my parents because they don't charge me rent they didn't charge me rent or anything, but I just feel like I accomplished this to do what? I still need to do something. So I was in survival mode because you're always in survival mode in New Orleans. I didn't want to keep on living with my parents, not doing anything, wasting all of my talents. New Orleans was only hiring veterans. And I just had to think about my future because I was like, I need to be doing something, not just going to school, graduating, and then doing nothing. So I had to do something. So it was all of that. Yes, they were against it. They're scratching their head. Why are you doing that? You could go get a job. They weren't listening to me. No, nobody don't want to hire me. New Orleans is only hiring veterans. They don't care how many degrees you have, but because nobody's going to hire you. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have to go. But that wasn't the actual turning point that made me go. When the Haiti earthquake happened, there was a Haitian American airman being interviewed, and she said that there was a woman speaking in Haitian, and she translated, and she said, she's saying that wearing this uniform makes me proud. And I was like, is it really an honor to go? Because remember, I didn't know anything about the military. All I heard was bad things. They just go and they go fight the war. And people who go are people who were about to end up in trouble. So they had to go to the military. But I wanted to see, it helped me to see why it was an honor to serve. And that it was the Haiti earthquake that was like, you know what? I need to look into that, like, for real. That's when I got for real. At first, I was just talking about it, and everybody was like, yeah, Diarra, you don't need to be going in there. But I'm like, no, I really do need to go because it really is an honor. I didn't see it as an honor at first because I wasn't brought up that way.
Well, that's really amazing. Now, I know since your time in the military, there's so many other things on your resume now. You're a prolific writer, you're an African dancer, you're an actress. I understand you have you're a model with your family-owned company, Chic Novelle
Yes.
Model Management, which just sounds amazing. And you even featured your whole family in your full-length stage play called Black People Problems. That all sounds so fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit more about all these different things that you're doing now with your life?
Okay, so I've always been a writer since like kindergarten. So I was always in creative writing. My teachers always put me in stories, and they or creative writing classes, and they were telling my mama, yeah, she needs to stay doing this. And my mom's like, yeah, she get it from me. I know. So I always knew I wanted to continue doing that. Film, like I said, I came home and film was hard. The most work I got was being a background extra. I'm like, no, I want to actually be in the writer's room or writing something. I don't want to just be in the background eating snacks, gaining weight when it's time for them to finally come do my scene. But while I was doing background, I did get a feature role in Roots. They did the scene over, so I saw a glimpse of myself, but it was a principal role, so that was a nice check. But then that got old too. Yeah, I was doing that before I joined the military. I was doing the background stuff, so yeah, I needed to do more than that too. So my mom put me in theater at 8 years old. So that was the first play I actually did when I was 8. And it was a play called When the Rattlesnake Sounds. And that was based on Harriet Tubman. And my name was Celie. Yep. They still called me Celie from when I was 8 years old. So I was back and forth in theater and writing all through school. The modeling came, my sister who passed last year from cancer, she actually was the model of the family, and she encouraged us to. She modeled for like 30 years and she was 47. So she started early. She started me and my sister Diarra at 16. I kind of quit around 19, but then I picked it back up at 21. And then my older sister, Raina, she started the agency because the opportunities were running into a bunch of crooked people. So she was like, we can just start our own agency. And now the agency made, I think 10 years on December 8th. It could be longer than that. I think she said officially on paper as a company about 10 years, but we've been doing it since Tammy started us all off. And then we're all tall. We're all 6 feet, except for my baby sister. She's the short one. She's 5'7", but everybody else is 5'10", 11. And my sister Nadira is 6'1". And we get our height from our dad because he's 6'7". So, I mean, we kind of didn't have a choice. I mean, I tried to quit, but my sister was like, no, I started an agency, so you still have to. So I do it when I want to. And as far as African dancing, my mom is all into African culture. So we've always been dancing. We didn't take like classes, like, we took classes every once in a while, but for the most part, we just watch and learn. We're naturally trained dancers. But yeah, my little brother is a stilt dancer, so we dance with him when he gets on the stilts. And it's a whole like family event. Like my sister has a model agency, but she has the talent part too. So we're a part of the talent part as well. So it's a model management company now. So it's not just models, it's still dancers, it's actors, it's all of that. And then as far as the play, I missed writing. I missed being on stage. And I just got tired of like going to auditions and not getting picked. So after my experience in the military, I was like, I need to do something with this. And it wasn't supposed to be everybody at first. It was supposed to be a 30-minute little short play. Well, that's not really that short, but it was supposed to be a short play. And they all was like, I want a spot in there. I want a spot. I want a spot. I want a spot. Before I turned around, everybody was in it. And then my mom was like, well, you can't have it without me. And I was like, oh, Lord. So I thought of a story, and it was based off me coming home as a military vet. And I just threw them in there, and it turned out to be 2 hours and 30 minutes. Because everybody wanted to throw their talent in there as well. So my mom was doing a poem. My brothers were doing raps and songs. And my brother was on stilts in there. So I just turned into a big old show. And I produced it 8 times. I was supposed to do it one more time, but COVID interrupted. And I still haven't had the chance to do it again. Because, with my sister being gone now, I'm just like, do I replace her? No, don't replace her. Or do I take her out? No. So it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just leave it alone for right now, but I'm gonna get back to it because I need to finish my last show.
Yeah, that sounds really amazing. It sounds like a great production.
Thank you.
Now, the piece that you worked on for us, where you're telling your story of your time in the military, that's a different thing because it involved music. And so I was wondering if you might want to talk a little bit about the experience you had working with Jenna Gillespie Bird, who did the lyrics and music for you, and how it felt to take your story and translate it and watch her start to translate it into songs.
It was a wonderful experience working with all of you from the first interview all the way up until this one. Jenna is amazing because I was like, I don't know what you're gonna do. I felt like everything I was giving her was just boring. It's just like, no, it's good. Keep giving me more stories. And it's like, I know she had to ask questions and clarify some of the military jargon because, you know, Air Force say different stuff from Army and they'll get mad if you say something that belongs to the Navy. And so I had to clarify some things for her. But she helped me with her questions. She helped me to figure out more stories that I had. And I was like, oh, Lord, I need to add this to the monologue. But I'm like, no, my monologue is already too long. And I think you said whatever extra, try to fit it in a song. And I was like, okay, well, that extra might actually work. And the song was long. But I was very amazed and surprised by how she turned what I thought was going to be boring into something very entertaining, fascinating, and it is one of my favorite songs. It's like on my computer, and when I'm playing songs, me and my sister being here singing, oh, that's my song. And like I really, that's when I realized, yeah, there is a difference between a songwriter, a screenwriter, a poet, because she was picking up on stuff that I just thought was just random. Because I wrote it like in prose, and she picked out words. And she picked out stories. She was like, I could see the story. I could see the story. And even the second song, the gospel song, I was just like, I don't have much to say for that. That's okay. This is good. You know, everything she could use. And I really was amazed at that. That's a real skill. And I don't have that skill to like listen for. I can see pictures, but with songs, I don't have that gift.
Well, that's
she's very good at it.
Yeah, that's the great thing about musical theater, because it is a collaboration. And so you have your skills and she has her skills and they work together. So to a great outcome.
I did a musical because most of the time I work by myself, and I'll let people read my stuff and they'll just like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm like, no other feedback besides it's good. But we were bouncing ideas off each other. I'm like, wow, this is how this really works. And it was very fun.
Yeah, that's great. And the other part of the collaboration, what's sort of fun, is the director for your piece. You got to work with your old college roommate from when you were in grad school, Eliana Amira Yisrael. What was that like to be able to get Eliana on board the project and to work with her?
First of all, I just want to say thank you. That was a dream come true. I didn't know if I was even allowed to do that, but I said, I'm going to ask because she has been a good collaborator. We always talked about doing stuff. We always talked our heads off in college and never got a chance to do anything like together. I helped her work on her film in college, but when we left, you know, we didn't do anything else. And she like gets me. So when she read the monologue, she just was laughing because she remembered how she knows me, you know. So she's like, oh, we need somebody good for this because she's very unique and different. And I'm like, that's Yana. She still gets extra excited when we're talking about just working together. We won't even have a story, but she'll just be excited just talking about it. So I was happy that y'all agreed to let her do it. And I was happy that she did do it and that we made it happen. And I can't wait to see the finished product. I really can't. My mom's been asking me too.
Yeah, it's gonna be really great. Where everything's in post right now, and but hopefully by the time this interview comes out, people will be able to go and watch the whole episode of The Worst Job Ever, and I'm sure they're going to love it. Love your work and Jenna's and Eliana's, and also the actress Taji. Everybody worked together so well. So it's a great project. Before we wrap things up, Diarra, is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about, in particular about why you think it's important to tell these stories, in particular for veterans to tell their stories to the world?
Yes. First of all, I would like to say that every veteran has a story. And I want veterans to know, if you don't think you have a story, you need to find it. Because if you sign that paper, you raise that your right hand, and you did however many years you did, you have a story somewhere in there. And I say that because I know they joke a lot, but when I tell people I never went to war, I never deployed, I never, because I didn't. They didn't allow me to. They feel like, oh, you didn't really serve, so you don't deserve anything. And that's not true. At least I took the pledge, and the government could have easily just told me, okay, you go. I volunteered to be government property for 8 years. So I do have my story. My story is not yours, it's mine. So I feel like all veterans should find their story if they think they don't have one, own it and honor it, because you experienced that, you signed up, and that belongs to you.
Well said, Diarra. Well said. I think that's so very true, because there are some people that feel like if they didn't deploy, that it doesn't somehow count. And that is not the only part of service. And we thank you very much for your service. Even though it was the worst job ever, we're still glad that you did it. And we're so happy that you shared the story with us. And I hope everybody watching this will go right out and watch the full episode of The Worst Job Ever. Thank you very much, Diarra.
Thank you.